So imagine your pocket change becoming the pipes for every dollar crossing the planet. Yep, my XRP did the math, and the answer nearly bent space-time. So picture this, right? I'm nursing a lukewarm latte in my favorite corner cafe, scrolling headlines when I stumble upon 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍, probably murdered that, I apologize, from Ripple, talking about a mind-melting number. That's $300 trillion. Now that's the projected, annual volume of money zipping all around borders, at least across borders, I should say, by 2030, at least according to her slides. That was 300 trillion. Now that's enough zeros to kind of make your phone glitch, and instantly my brain sparks. What if XRP, the so-called bridge asset, that most people kind of still nickname a glorified bank token, actually handled every dime of that traffic? And you can cue the kind of record scratch, cartoons, kind of bulging eyes, and my nearly, or at least myself, kind of nearly spilling my coffee down my hoodie, and I just had to chase this rabbit. Quick disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses. This video is purely for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, first, why do we even need new plumbing for the global cash flow? And well, it's because the current pipes are about as efficient as mailing a check on horseback. Now, cross-border transfers still get bogged down by weekend delays, fat fees, and little sorry something went wrong errors that land your cash in limbo. So if you've ever tried to wire money on a Friday afternoon, then yeah, you know the pain. Now Ripple's pitch is actually quite simple. Swap the rusty copper pipes for fiber optic blockchain rails and let XRP act as the liquid glue between currencies. That's UK pounds turn into XRP, XRP darts across the ledger in seconds, and boom, Philippine pesos, appear in the other end before you can even refresh TikTok. Now, here is the challenge wrapped in sarcasm then. Sure, Ripple, just go ahead and capture 100% of the world's cross-border traffic. Easy peasy. Now, realists, of course, they'll roll their eyes, but curiosity is a pretty powerful drug, right? And mine wasn't going away. So I opened up a fresh ChatGPT chat, slapped in the scenario, and I asked it to crunch the numbers like a caffeinated CPA. So assume XRP processes the full $300 trillion annually by 2030. The circulating supply locked at 58.75 billion tokens. Give me prices based on the different reuse speeds, what economists call velocity, because we all know that the same coin can be spent over and over, like that one friend who miraculously kind of re-gifts the same old candle every single Christmas. And ChatGPT, it played along, but it did so with a polite AI kind of throat clear first, reminding me that this was the kind of Mount Everest of optimistic assumptions. Still, let's ride through the experiment together. So if every XRP gets, at least coin gets reused 100 times a year, well, the network only needs $3 trillion worth of XRP sitting in the liquidity pool at any given moment to crunch $300 trillion in payments. Divide that $3 trillion liquidity value by 58.75 billion coins and, drumroll, each XRP pops out at $51.06. So that alone kind of made my jaw kind of slack a little. Somewhere a kind of calculator whispered, bro, are you okay? But the numbers, they just get spicier, right? Let's pretend that people hoard their XRP like vintage comic books and only reuse each coin maybe 10 times a year. Suddenly, we need $30 trillion in on-hand kind of value, and the price tag rockets to roughly $510.64 per XRP. Now, yeah, that's kind of per coin. Of course, meanwhile, a kind of lazier but still reasonable velocity of 50 slots XRP around $102. Crank velocity up to 200 and price cools down to around $25. And in a hyper liquid fantasy where each coin kind of zips through 500 transactions annually, well, you're looking at about $10 a pop. The same ledger, the same supply, wildly different zip codes on the price chart then. So all because of how fast that we actually pass the coins around, kind of like musical chairs but with digital assets. And so here is where the personal anecdote hits then. Years ago, I worked in a corporate treasury job, right? The kind where you watch millions crawl through swift wires like sloths at rush hour. And we would kind of lose entire mornings waiting for a payment received confirmation so that we could ship widgets, across the Atlantic. Now, the time, at least the first time that I kind of test drove a blockchain settled payment, it kind of felt like swapping dial-up for fiber optic. And that emotional memory is why I can't brush off Ripple's ambition as pure marketing fluff, right? If they even carve out just 5 to, or maybe even 10% of the market, it's kind of still a monstrous kind of pie slice. So let's think of cross-border volume as a kind of stadium-sized pizza then, and a single slice can feed an entire city. But let's go ahead and sprinkle in a few stats so that you know that I'm not just riffing off kind of pure caffeine at this point. Now, according to the World Bank, the average remittance fees still hover around 6%, 6. So on a $1,000 transfer, that's $60, evaporating before it hits grandma's bank. Now, Ripple kind of demos kind of show potential cost slashes under 1%, sometimes fractions of a cent when corridors are fully liquid. So if you're kind of a global business moving payroll every 2 weeks, shaving 5% off kind of friction is kind of like finding a secret trapdoor in your expense sheets. Now that saving alone could fund next year's office coffee. Now, of course, skeptics, they will chime in loud and proud. But regulation, but banks love status quo, but volatility, and they're all fair points, right? XRP's price chart has been a roller coaster of loops, at least more loops, I should say, than a Six Flags ad. Yet, ironically, volatility is kind of partly tamed when a coin's sole job is to hop between currencies in mere seconds. The window of exchange rate risk is, at least can be, shorter than the time it takes to double tap a selfie. So Ripple's on-demand liquidity product already kind of pairs with regulated exchanges to snap up XRP, move it, and unload it at the other end, almost instantaneously. It's kind of like playing hot potato with plutonium, right? You never hold it too long or long enough that you actually get burnt. And speaking of exchanges, here's a quick side road, right? If you've ever kind of want first-hand experience with snappy trading, then you need to check out the Blowfin Crypto Exchange. There's a link in the description down below. In full disclosure, of course, that is an affiliate link that helps kind of keep the lights on and the caffeine flowing around here. But it won't cost you a single dime extra. Now, you know the drill, right? Support the channel, support your education, maybe snag, tighter spreads while you're at it. Okay, so back to the path then. Now, I know a price like $510 per XRP sounds like a bedtime fiction, but the kind of number that actually kind of spawns Lambo soon memes faster than you can say moonshot. But remember, the model isn't kind of just fairy dust. It's a straight line equation of supply, velocity, and required liquidity. Will real life ever align perfectly? Probably not, and I want to stress that. Probably not. Real life is very messy, right? Regulators kind of gatekeep, banks drag their kind of loafers, and new competitors pop up out of the kind of fintech woodwork, if you will. Yet math-driven thought experiments, they matter because they map the kind of outer edge of possibilities, right? They'll tell us, here's what the physics of money allows if adoption catches fire. And XRP adoption is crawling out of the cave. Over 200 financial institutions have reportedly tested or tapped Ripplenet. Tested isn't the same as fully deployed, but pilots are the kind of gateway drug. So remember how Netflix started as DVD mailers before streaming kind of bulldozed over Blockbuster, right? Pivot to today is a paradigm shift tomorrow, right? At least I should say a pilot today is a paradigm shift for tomorrow. So if just one kind of globally kind of systemic kind of bank maybe flips the switch on XRP's full liquidity, well, rivals probably won't just sit around twiddling thumbs. They'll probably copy and paste the blueprint kind of faster than a college kid kind of crams for finals. The network effects are kind of savage like that. So let me give you a real world metaphor then, right? Think of cross-border payments as the world's largest kind of airport baggage system. Today's convoy kind of belts, or conveyor belts, I should say, break down, eat kind of luggage and, charge $20 per bag on top, right? Ripple's kind of proposes brand new kind of maglev belts that kind of whiz suitcases from check-in to carousel in 30 seconds. Now, if one airline installs it and, advertises no lost bags, half the fee, well, the rest, they're kind of the rest kind of either upgrade or even start handing out free pajamas to angry passengers when their luggage ghosts them, right? Technological kind of gravity does the arm wrestling here, or arm twisting essentially. Now let's peek under the hood of that velocity variable, because it's the kind of silent MVP in all of this, right? Economists kind of stole it from the macro monetary kind of playbook, the speed at which money changes hands in the economy. So high velocity, means that each coin is at least is the society kind of butterfly of finance, right? Fluttering from wallet to wallet, morning to night. So low velocity kind of means coins loaf on the couch, binge watching Netflix. So for XRP, higher velocity lowers the required price to support massive volume. So each, at least because of each coin kind of works over time, right? Now, lower the velocity demands a kind of beefier price per unit so that the total network value still covers liquidity obligations. It's the same reason a rental car in constant use earns more than a collectible sports car locked in a garage. Now, when I kind of first wrapped my head around that, I realized that debates about burning escrow or reducing supply miss half of the picture. Supply is only one variable, right? Even with the current 58.75 billion circulation supply, price can scream north if velocity snoozes, or, drift lower if, XRP morphs into a flash and, at least into the flash, and races through liquidity pools hundreds of times a year. So instead of obsessing over coin counts alone, we have to watch how many actual corridors spin up, how sticky liquidity actually stays, and whether big corporates are reusing tokens or just dipping their toes. Okay, so personal tangent number 2. A buddy of mine runs an e-commerce brand exporting artisan coffee beans. No surprise. Now, each month he wires payments to Colombian farmers. Fees chew his margins so aggressively that he once joked that he should start roasting the dollars to salvage kind of warmth, if you will. Now, last quarter, he experimented with Ripple's ODL pilot via a regional exchange. Now, his email to me was pretty short. He said, "I saved enough on fees to fund a new marketing campaign." Now that's adoption that you don't see in kind of coin market cap candles, but it's kind of where price foundations actually lay cement. So multiply his story by 1 million SMEs and the liquidity math gets pretty spicy pretty quick. But we shouldn't forget the community, right? If you want to kind of swap war stories or just lurk and learn, then our free educational Discord server is open 24/7. There is a link hanging out at the top of the description down below. It's kind of where geeks, newbies, and reformed fiat maximalists kind of trade insights without the paywall. So jump in, say hi, maybe flex that old dad joke that you kind of been saving about blockchain. Okay, so now the narrative climax, right? After after marinating in the numbers, I kind of closed my laptop, leaned back, and kind of tried to visualize a 2030 where a single digit asset, quietly kind of hums underneath every single cross-border paycheck, invoice, and remittance. The image that struck wasn't yachts or moon bases. It was a small shop owner in, a country receiving funds from a wholesaler in kind of Berlin, let's say, instantly, with enough saved on fees to hire another worker. Now, macro kind of visions are often just billions of micro victories, stacked together. And that's kind of why price predictions matter. They're shorthand for human impact, if you will. $51 per XRP means corridors running smoother. $510 means velocity slowed, but adoption still exploded. Right? Perhaps because businesses treat XRP like a kind of bulk warehouse item. Buy once, hold, reuse sparingly. $10. Right? But still kind of implies, XRP moved 500 times a year for the entire $300 trillion flow. Kings of speed, still a massive feat. But every kind of scenario is a different universe as well, each with its own kind of winners, regulators, and of course, learning curves. And by the way, speaking of learning curves, I'm still kind of tinkering with Blowfin's advanced order types. Again, the affiliate link is in the description if you want to play along. And yes, that link throws a few Satoshis our way to kind of fund more deep dives like this. That's the transparency hat being on. All right, let's go ahead and land this plane, right? Whether XRP, ever kind of touches 50, 500, or kind of chills where it is, one unshakable truth screams louder than any price chart. The world is starving for faster, cheaper, and more reliable cross-border pipes. If Ripple nails even 10% of that hunger, well, early infrastructure builders, liquidity providers, exchanges, payment processors, they stand to rewrite the rulebook. Investing isn't, of course, about crystal ball certainty. It's all about probability weighted by conviction and risk tolerance. Now, my conviction grows every time that I watch legacy banking rails creak like a haunted attic. Now, my risk tolerance, well, that I kind of manage with position sizing because moon math is cool, but rent is kind of cooler. And so here is my takeaway. Treat colossal price models like, hiking trail signs. They will tell you the kind of distance and altitude, not whether you'll twist an ankle or run out of granola. Right? Prepare, research, and adapt. And if you ever feel FOMO, right, tapping your kind of shoulder, remember, velocity of money might be the most underrated plot twist in crypto valuation. So look both ways before hopping on the trains.